Yo.
What up? What up?
Yo, welcome to the Carbon Footprint.
Episode 18.
I'm glad you stepped in on that.
See, man, we're getting better. We're getting better at this, man. I had to think back real quick to last week and said, man, what the hell number was that one?
Yeah, wow. 18, man. So what's
Yeah,
up?
man.
What's up? What's going on this week, man?
Man, let me give a quick intro first, right? For those of you who haven't listened, I'm Sean and he's Juan, and we get together once a week, have a couple drinks, and talk about everything that's going on all over the world.
Yeah.
And try to focus on things that are, that have made an impact, whether it's good, bad, or otherwise. So, what's on the menu for today?
Yo, man, I think you got hold on. We got a 19 Crimes red wine. It's a red blend, but what makes it especially special is that Snoop Dogg is on the cover, is on the label, and it's a Cali Red fitting for Snoop Dogg, right? Cali Red. It's actually really good. I don't like 19 Crimes usually.
I would have never.
This is a good wine.
So I have bought 19 Crimes before,
Yeah,
just
so
to
far.
kind of try it out, and I was not impressed. I didn't like the one that I bought. I don't remember which one it was, but scrolling through the aisles this past weekend, I just saw Snoop's face, and I go, I have to get it, and I've been pleasantly surprised. It's actually really tasty.
Yeah,
so,
it's actually a decent.
if you guys see this 19 Crimes with Snoop Dogg's face on it, it's got a signature on the neck of the bottle. It's actually really good.
Yeah, it actually is. I'm pleasantly surprised. It's actually pretty tasty, man. Like, you get him Snoop.
Yeah, man.
He's good at everything. It's probably weed in this. That's what has us.
I knew there was something
There's
familiar
something
about
in
it.
here. I'm like, this tastes like my childhood, like my teenage years. So that's good.
I want to start off this week with a couple positive footprints, man. Sometimes last week we touched on the death of Mr. Black Panther.
Yeah.
But this week I want to go off on a high note. Actually, I'm going to start off on a high note rather. Hormel Foods. I don't know if you guys recognize that, but I bet if you go to the store, I'm sure you bought things from this brand. They make things like Spam and Skippy peanut butter and Muscle Milk and Dinty Moore's stew, and they're probably all kind of crap that you're not supposed to eat.
Yep. And for Latinos, you get the salchichons.
Dude, we keep Spam in the house. I think it is probably the worst thing ever, right?
What's in Spam?
I have no idea. But my kids like it, and my wife loves it.
My daughter likes the Vienna sausages.
Oh, yeah, we
Equally
get those too.
as terrible.
I think, is that from the same company? It's probably. Oh, no, is that? Oh,
No,
that
Hormel
would
makes
be-
them.
Is
Hormel
it?
makes.
Okay.
Yep. They make the Vienna sausage.
That's it. It's Vienna sausage.
Vienna sausages, man, and they're terrible for you.
But they're great in rice.
Yeah, you
Get the
chop
red-
them up,
get the red
or
rice,
like
you
mac
put
and
'em in
cheese.
there.
You chop them up.
Oh, I haven't
put it
had
in
them
the
in mac and
Oh, it's
cheese.
good,
Gotta
man.
try that out.
Yeah, it's good. It's like hot dogs in the mac and cheese. It's fire.
That's a poor man's food.
Yeah, y'all don't know about them broke night dinners.
So Hormel Foods is actually they're paying for a 2-year degree. So essentially, if you go to like a community college, they're paying for 2-year degrees for all of their employees' children.
Wow.
So normally, in I shouldn't say normally, but in some corporate environments, in some workplaces, they'll sort of reimburse you if you go to college, and if it has something to do with something to better you within the company, they'll flip the bill for that, but they'll usually pay you after the fact. This is like they're gonna pay for their employees' children, and they have like 16,000 employees.
Wow. Well, you figured 16,000, but I guess you got to figure out how many of those have children, how many of those have college age children. I mean, it's you figured it's risky. Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Yeah, I thought that was really
Awesome,
cool
man.
of them.
You know what though? I don't know what they do in sales a year, but that's probably a drop in the bucket for them. And I think people want more than a paycheck these days, right? When you go look for an employer, you're looking for people, whether it's flexibility, obviously money matters, but then the perks, what else comes with it? What else shows me that you care about me and my family, right? And I think something like that is huge. Where are they based out of?
I don't know.
In the U.S.? So I'm wondering if
Look it up.
They got to be in the.
But they actually, they currently offer tuition reimbursement to their employees, already, and so now they've extended that to the 2-year degree.
Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Yeah. Austin, Minnesota. Never even. I was gonna say Austin, Texas, and then I realized it was an MN. But that's awesome. So they do tuition reimbursement already for current employees.
For their current employees.
And so this is like an extension of that. Now they're also doing it for their employees' children.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's amazing, man. Because, when you talk about, your children, I think that every parent wants better for their children, right? And if you weren't able to go to college, for a lot of folks, that's like the next thing, right? You want your kids to take that next step and go to college. And so kudos to Hormel for at least starting that process, right? A 2-year degree could mean the difference about somebody making a good living versus a not so good living.
Not so good. And listen, people will remember that. I think employees will remember that. Who knows? Those kids that you put through college will remember that. And, who knows what path, their education takes them. Maybe they end up back at Hormel.
Yeah.
Because they remember what they did for them. I think that's so underrated, especially this day and age. We give millennials a lot of crap about how they come into the work environment, right? Like, a lot of times we knock them for being, quote unquote entitled and things like that. But I think they're forcing employers, and not that this happens to Hormel, but I think they're forcing employers to offer more than just a paycheck, because you can get a paycheck anywhere, right? And most of us can make money doing anything. So I think when you do that and you take that extra step to not only reimburse employees for their tuition, but then their kids, man, that's huge.
Yeah,
huge,
yeah.
Huge. So kudos to those guys,
yeah,
man.
kudos to those guys. Next up on my list is a company based out of LA. The company's called Republic, and has a funky spelling. It's like REPV BLIK. And what they're doing is that they're taking over, or they're buying out old hotels, or I would say more like motel style places that have been abandoned for whatever X amount of years, and they're turning them into low income housing. So you'll have like studio apartments, and you even have 1-bedroom apartments, and the prices are like $500 and I think like $700.
And it's in California.
No, I think that they're California based, and I don't know if they want to expand to there, but I think that they're starting in places where property is not so expensive.
Oh, makes sense.
So like I think the one place that I looked at was in Branson, Missouri.
Okay.
And like I said, the studio apartment was $500, 1-bedroom was like $700. But I actually went into the website, and the apartments looked nice. So they actually went in there and they renovated.
So they remodeled it. They don't just leave it looking like a motel.
Yep.
Basically. Wow.
And so they renovate the place. I mean, they're putting down, they're putting down like laminate floors. They're putting smart TVs in it. They're putting like they have like a tornado shelter.
Oh, wow.
In the place,
well,
because
you're in Missouri,
you're probably gonna need that. They're offering obviously AC, which you don't have to buy the AC. There's a laundry, there's basketball courts, there's gyms. So there's actually amenities to these places.
Wow.
For that price, you do have to qualify for it. So they're not. They do have some stipulations where they're not taking people like if you've been evicted, due to like because you just stopped paying.
Okay.
So they are trying to get hardworking people that have just fallen upon hard times.
Yeah.
But man, I was like, man, that's great, because you look at even like places like that where the median income, I want to say the if you're hourly is like $12 an hour, and so man, and so to think
you even
about
afford an apartment at $12 an hour. I'm trying to think, man.
If it's
40 hours a week,
$500.
It's half your money after taxes, right? If it's $500. What? So $12 an hour at 40 hours a week. That's $480 a week. You figure if you pay benefits, insurance, taxes, you might maybe $350, $300. If you're paying for medical insurance, damn, dude, that's $1,200 a month. Half of it goes towards your rent.
Well, less than half.
A little less than that.
At $500.
Yeah, that's actually doable. Because I know people here who make double that or 50% more than $12 an hour who still struggle for a 1-bedroom apartment, because here it's like $1,200 for a 1-bedroom apartment. So in a decent part of town. So that's awesome, man. So they're doing that, taking care of people.
Yeah, so this guy, and he's trying to do it without any federal assistance. So he's actually going in there.
No tax money, basically his own.
Right. So he's just going in there and so they're making like a nice place. They got about 2,000 units right now. And in the next 10 years, is it next 10 years? I know he basically the goal is to basically 10x this. So he wants to have like 20,000 units.
Yeah, so he's going to make his money by volume,
Right.
by sheer volume, because he's getting in probably cheap properties, and then obviously at the $500 or $600, $700, it multiplies. You know, if you've got 50 units or whatever it is in one, but you know, hard in the right place, because you could have taken that and turned it into high end apartments, or you could have turned it into, you know, which you probably wouldn't have any trouble renting out anyway. So
Depending on where you're at, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
if
maybe
you do
not
it
in Missouri.
whatever.
In LA, you'd probably be fine. But your rent's getting crazy. You know, like even in California, man, I know people in California who make six figures who have roommates. And because they'll tell me that they have to have a roommate. And that's not sustainable, man. I've been paying attention to California a lot lately. I'm really curious to see what happens there. You've seen like the exodus now of like celebrities, like obviously the big one, kind of like Joe Rogan, which we talked about here. And there's been a couple of other ones that just been leaving California, but you can't keep charging that. You know, I know people who've told me they spend $3,000 plus on a 1-1 in California in a so part of town that's like 600 square feet. And I'm like, are you crazy? Like, it's just, and obviously you're paying for what you get outside. Not inside of the place, because these aren't great places to live in that you're paying that much for. But yeah, it's not sustainable. Like eventually you're gonna run out of people who are willing to do that, or people are just gonna get fed up and move out. I mean, you've seen it with Tesla, right? He's not trying to build a facility in California. He's like, oh, where's property affordable? Let's go to Texas. And where can I get talent and property is affordable and the cost of living isn't as crazy? No state tax, and he went off to, people are going off now to Nevada and Texas and stuff like that. So I expect that trend to continue, man. And it's only a matter of time, because it happens here in Florida. It's only going to drive our prices up eventually too, right? And we'll be I don't know that we'll ever be at that extreme, but it's definitely going to make it more expensive to live here or Texas and all that, the more people start making their way here. But
I wonder how much of that is like you sort of like not knowing any better, right? You born and raised in California, sort of like it's all you ever see. So you just go, well, I don't want to go anywhere else. This is where I'm from, and this is where I want to stay. And so you just stay and pay those astronomical costs. You know, I don't know. I don't
know, man. You got to have internet, Zillow somewhere. You just start. You ever watch any of those like fixer upper shows? Like and they got the one that the couples in California, and that always trips my mind, because they're like, oh, we've got this 3-2 Craftsman, you know, it's like, you know, 1,400 square feet, it's like just outside of Compton, and they're like, oh,
like 1.2 million.
Yeah, it's like $1.2 million, and you're like, it's a closet, bro. Like, why are you're selling me a storage unit? Like, why are you? And it's like $1.2 million. You're like, for real, man? Like, it's insane. And then they'll flip them. They're like, oh, we do this, and this. We can flip this for 1.5. And you're like, the bungalow?
Like, yeah, right. Who's buying that?
Who's buying the 1.
But by the end of those shows,
they're always sold, right? It's crazy to me, man. I look at that and I'm like, you guys are out of your minds, man.
But you know what, dude? I know people, man, that have looked, you know, that live in cities that are like New York is one, right? That live there and they're paying a lot of money, and they're always going, oh man, I wish. You know, I was down in Virginia or Florida or what have you, and you know I could get a great house down there for what I paid for the apartment. It's like, yeah, so move,
yeah.
And then 4 years later, we're having the same conversation.
Yep. I have that conversation with family members all the time, either in California or New York, and they're just like, and I'm always like, you know what you pay for your apartment now? You could literally have like a 5,000 square foot house in Florida with money to spare. Like, you're still gonna have money left. Like, it's just wild to me how.
Yeah, we'll see. And I think we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. We'll see with this pandemic and how companies have been more lenient with working from home.
Yeah.
Right. We'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, some
over
have.
time.
Some have been really good about, I think, being flexible to their employees, and then I think just being cognizant of the world we're in now, because I don't think that's going away. I think too, what happens is once you get to the point where people have worked from home and you prove you can do it, then I think even for companies, they're going, wait, why are we paying for this massive facility? Like, we could have, you know, our IT, our finance, our accounting, our HR. There's so many functions where you go, we could cut our building costs in half maybe, and then move these people to remote. And we're prepared if something like this should happen again, but also we reduce our overhead costs. Like, and for people, that's a perk, right? Like, you go, if you're someone, and obviously it's nice to be able to go in an office. So if you have some kind of flex, like situation, it's ideal, because if I want to go in office, then I can go in, right? If you're someone who craves kind of the being around people. But I think also if you go, If you work from home, you go, oh, that's gas, that's tolls, that's clothes, right?
Dude,
That's
time, bro. It's time.
Which is the biggest one of all, right?
Yep.
You go minimum 2 hours
Dude,
a day for most people.
Minimum
2 hours by working from home, where you just go. And as an employer, I think if you're looking at that, you're going, these people are on earlier most of the time, or at least they can do stuff with their day in the morning now that, that hour that I was commuting in, maybe I go to that doctor's appointment. I'm not taking up your time anymore, right? Or, and then at the end of the day, you go, maybe you get more out of these people, because I know I'm certainly guilty of this. Like, I don't know when to stop. When I'm working from home, the problem is the computer's there. It's so easy. I tend to do longer days sometimes. Right. But if you're an employer, you're going, okay, these people are there. And then if it's 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock or whenever, you just close your laptop and you're ready to go. You if you want to do dinner, if you want, like if you have things where you go, okay, I want to go to the gym, I want to start cooking dinner at home, I want to do, like, that affords you the time to do stuff like
Absolutely.
that, I think. Yeah. So
yeah, I know I've spoken to people recently at my place of business, and folks that were actually against the working from home thing in the beginning. Like, they wanted to be in the office, sort of like shell shocked when they were told to work from home. But I think that those folks were working at like their kitchen tables, which is not necessarily the most comfortable place to work from.
No.
And I had told them from the get, I'm like, listen, get a spot, like get a desk, get in a good chair, get a little spot where you set up, and then learn when to turn it off.
Yep. Get a designated office, if you will, right, from home. And then because it does mentally help you know when to shut it down. This is the sacred space. If you have family that's in the house with you, they know, oh, if you're there, they don't, bother you. Yep. Yeah, man, I think if you're an employer, you want to attract top talent, I think that's going to be key now moving forward for sure. Like, there's going to be very few people, because so many people are offering it, like the work from home, the work remote thing. I think so many, it won't be a deal breaker for some, but I think if you're stringent about it, it's certainly going to push some people away. And not every industry can do it, and that's understandable. But I think the people who go into those industries understand that, right? Like, there's certain places where you have to be there, right? So,
dude, and then what? I was thinking, the industry that helps to build up is like the home office industry.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you're going to get people going, okay, well, I need a space.
Well, there's an opportunity in that, right?
Come in and build me a space.
In furniture, in computers, right? In office supply. Yeah, like, now there's an opportunity. There's a business opportunity there for sure. Yep. Yeah, just like there was a business opportunity in the everyone going remote corporate wise, where they started selling. I don't know if you saw, like, at one point in time, the webcams. I think it was Logitech. That was like a real popular webcam choice. You couldn't get them anywhere, like during the pandemic, because everyone suddenly was like, I need a webcam, and because they were on these Zoom calls or Teams or whatever it was, and you go, man, if you're someone who got into, and I looked on Amazon, like the flooding of like the generic kind of webcam brands and stuff that were just, you figured these guys are moving units, man. They're just killing it.
They all bought them for about $2.
Mm-hmm. Sold them to me for $47. And I thought I got a deal.
Yo, so your boy David Blaine was in the news this week, flying over Arizona on some Disney up shit.
Listen, that motherfucker is crazy. First of all, dude, he is. So he was on Joe Rogan. I don't know if you got a chance to watch that interview. He's on Joe Rogan, and like you would expect from David Blaine, he's weird, and I mean that in a good way. He's a weird, like, I
love his act and everything.
Yeah,
and,
and so what you would think about someone like David Blaine is exactly like, I've never seen an interview with him before, especially not that long form, which is what I love about Rogan. It's like, it's not structured. It's just you sitting there and shoot the shit, right? And he's such a fascinating guy, but he's exactly what I thought someone who's into that type of magic and the stunts and all that would be like, right? Like, there's a quirkiness to that, because I think anybody who's good at something like that, you got to be a little off, right? And I think that goes for any art. I think that goes for music. I think that goes for comedy. I think that goes for movies. Like you always see the actors who are like, oh, I have to be in character the whole time. I'm like, you got to be a little weird to be good at that stuff. Like, I've never met anyone who wasn't weird who was great at an art. But he was talking about this thing that ever since he's been planning this stunt. And guys, if you haven't seen it, just go on YouTube, type David Blaine Ascension, and just watch it. He basically duplicates Up, like a kid holding balloons and floating away into the sky.
If you've ever as a kid thought, hey, how many balloons did it take to actually take me off the ground? He just did it. They were really big. They were bigger, helium balloons. I don't know how many there were, but Yeah, I mean, enough to lift him off the ground. And he had a target of about 18,000 feet that he went way over.
He went way over. So, and it's funny you should say if you were ever a kid, you're wondering, that's exactly what made him want to do it.
Oh, really?
So he said ever since he was a kid, he watched, like he would go to Coney Island and he would see like the posters with the balloon guys, and he would see the balloon. And he always wondered, like, man, that'd be so cool. Like every kid, like you have this dream where you're holding, X amount of balloons and you float away and you're like, how many of these would hold me up? And he says for years he's wanted to do something like this, right? And then he says in the last couple, he started sketching it. Like, okay, what would it take? And then I guess he started kind of reaching out to people like, hey, like getting serious about it, going, hey, I really want to do this. Like, what is it going to take? And it's so crazy. In the interview, he talks about how, like go listen to it, honestly. If you guys, it's fascinating, but he talks about the process. Like, first off, he had to become a master skydiver, but he only had a year to do it. And I guess you need like 1,000 jumps or whatever. Like, I think it was a lot more than that, actually. He was doing 8 to 10 jumps per day for a year straight. And he was, and we've done the skydiving thing before. So imagine he's doing that 10 times a day for a year.
That's gotta be amazing.
It's got to be awesome. And he became like an expert skydiver because he needed expert level skydiving because he made it to about 25,000 feet or just under.
Like just under, yeah.
Yeah, and it's because anything over that would have killed him.
I did see him at one point like taking oxygen.
Yes.
So he had some kind of device up there that he could take, but it wasn't like oxygen tank.
No.
Like he was up there and then grabbing his little device.
I think the tank was inside of the balloons.
Okay.
So what made it crazy was he didn't put the parachute on, so he was in the sky, I think, at almost 10,000 feet already. So he goes up, he doesn't have a parachute on.
Oh, shit. See, I didn't know this part.
So his whole thing was he wanted the visual to look like a child or, a man floating away into the clouds, and he would disappear from the ground. And then once you couldn't see him anymore, he puts on the backpack and he has the oxygen and all that. But he wanted to make sure that you couldn't see him anymore from the ground, because the thing that mattered to him the most, it wasn't even getting high and jumping. It was the illusion of
the visual
disappearing off into the
right.
sky. So, and then he wanted to just hold on to the balloons, like wrap it around his hand and float. And true David Blaine, crazy ass. And his team's like, and he was talking about his team had to talk him into like harnessing himself. And he goes, but if I have a harness, like it takes away from the visual. And David Blaine is very visual. Like his whole thing, it's magic. It's the visual. And so I think they finally talked him into it and hiding kind of a harness like through his wrist, like that went to his back. Once he's in the air, you can kind of see a lot of it because he starts taking things off. But he goes, I literally want it to look like I'm holding a ton of balloons and floating away. And then once I'm in the sky, so he puts on the parachute, like he has this mechanism where he lowers it down from the balloons, like, and then he puts on the parachute in midair, and it's clipped in, but then he's going like making sure it's in before he unhooks it from the, And it's so funny. His team's like, all right, check one. Yeah, one done. Oh, check two. And you can tell he put in so much work into this because they're like going step by step by step. It was so fascinating, man. So cool to see.
But so what is typically with him, even when he does sort of like dangerous stuff, like I would consider this to be sort of one of those dangerous things, right? He has to prepare his body and stuff like that. Did he have to do anything with regards to like I guess intaking less oxygen for a certain amount of time?
Yep. So he's done the whole thing where I can hold my breath for 18 minutes or whatever it was. He held his breath for however long, and then he did the whole ice thing where he buried himself in ice.
Right.
So all of that he talked about was the bulk of these things come down to being able to control your breaths. And then even when you're underwater, he goes, if you're able to kind of slow down your breaths, you slow down your heart rate, and so he practiced with all these guys who are like, I don't know, like Sherpas and weird, like basically
master divers.
Yeah, basically like how to hold your breath and then how to control your breathing, because and his thing in his mind, he goes, that plays a factor in a lot of things that you can do. So one of the things was he was always going up really high without the oxygen tank to practice breathing in the sky. And that's why if you watch the video, you see him doing like a lot of like he does these things, and it's like a technique where he's releasing, and he talks about it. It's just funny. I didn't know. It's not so much the oxygen intake, it's the carbon dioxide outtake that plays a bigger role. And he goes into this whole like scientific thing about it. It's pretty fascinating. But He basically trained his body because he didn't even want the oxygen tank. They talked him into the oxygen tank. And
of course he did.
And he's like, that's why I'm jumping at 25,000. He goes, anything at 25 to 30, you'll freeze to death. You go hypoxic. So then you'll die. So he knew he pushing it. And I think he jumps just shy of 25,000. And you can hear his crew going, hold on for
it's
like 12 more seconds.
24,900 feet.
Yes.
Which people is almost, it's 4.7 miles above the ground.
Above the ground. And you can hear his crew going, wait. Like they wanted like 8 more seconds because I think that gets him to the 25,000 because he's going up like 500 feet per minute or something crazy like that, right? So you can hear his team going, wait. But he has to make a choice of, if I pass out, I can't unhook myself. I'm screwed. So like, and people looked at it as like, that's not that impressive. I'm like, you're nuts. If you pass out at any point during that, I mean, maybe his team has a control to release all the harnesses and then the parachute has a control, but you're dead. Like you're basically floating off into the abyss. And that's the risk here is, and you can see at some point in time, he's like taking the oxygen and he's kind of, and I think he says even he's getting lightheaded. And the weird thing is on your way down, you come back too. And they're like, well, aren't you going to be afraid to pass out? He goes like, well, as long as I can unclip myself, if I pass out during that process, I've got like a minute and a half to wake up before I hit the ground. Like, and he says it's so matter of fact. He's like, I got a minute and a half before
I think you actually have more than that, right? Because when we jumped, I think that we free fall
for about a minute. Yeah. And we went what 18,000? Yeah. So yeah, you've got about a little more. So it was so funny, man, because he talks about it. So and you know, Rogan's like, you're crazy, you know that, right? And he's just like, oh, everything's prepared for. Like we've been rehearsing this, and just fascinating, man. So cool. And he had his daughter there, and it's cool because his daughter's like in the headset talking to him, and she's telling him like, oh, I can see you, and then doing this, and it's so nerve-wracking. And I can't even imagine, dude, if you're up there and you start falling and your daughter's on the other side of that, or like it goes horribly wrong, and you're the team, because you can hear her in the background, like when he's radioing with his team, his daughter's going like, how's he doing, you know? And it's just like, man, and I think I'm watching it live and I'm like on pins and needles because I'm going, if something goes wrong, like it's just
and that's the whole thing with his stuff, right?
Yeah.
You go like, he's probably going to make it through because the guy is like an ultra preparer.
He's so well prepared, yeah.
Right. But just the fact that something could go wrong, you know, it keeps your eyes glued.
And he, you know, the things that he had to prepare for, right? Like obviously we talked about the parachuting, the balloon contraption had to be registered with I think the FAA as like an aircraft essentially. He had to get clearance.
I mean, those, and I don't know what they're made out of, right? But at some point the balloon would pop, I would think.
Yes. So the idea is eventually these balloons are going to give out and they go. I think they even had a way to remote detonate the balloons.
Okay.
I think, but
now you know what? I thought about that. So like, if he passes out, right? If they can, I didn't know that they could do that. But if you could remote detonate, you know, one, right, and then begin the descent, a slow descend. And do you know how far he traveled? Because it just said across the Arizona
pretty
desert.
Far out, yeah. And I know he wanted to do it in New York City. So the whole premise behind, cool. Oh my God, can you imagine him over like the Empire State Building going on? And that was what he wanted to do. And I know he had.
I just want to know where's he gonna drop.
Well, that was the other thing. In this, he had a specific part that he was going to drop it. He missed it. He missed it by a lot.
But he's in the desert,
but it's mountains. So he's which I didn't
I'm just
realize.
Saying, you got a lot more chance of crashing into shit if you're going into the middle.
For
of New
sure,
York City.
In New York, it's definitely harder. So I'm going to assume that you got to land. You got to land in Jersey. Like you can't go. You go up in New York and you land in Connecticut or Jersey or something. But this, he's going down towards mountains, and then the other part, which I never really consider, is like there's water and then there's power lines that he can't see because you're coming in. He can't see the power lines until he's like really up on them. So he's relying on the people on the ground. He's going, hey, I see a lake, and they're like, just to the right of that, there's power lines just to the left. So if you miss that, like, you're fucked. And I didn't know if you hit a power line when you're skydiving, you're assed out, which I don't know why I didn't think of that, but you're assed out. So, which makes sense when I think about it, but I go, power lines.
But at that point, right? I mean, you got the chutes open, right? So you should be able to adapt. You should be able to navigate.
Right.
To navigate
across
with the chute.
But there's so much that went into this, like the preparation, even the communications. Like he's talking to them the entire time. And like you said, it's 4.5 miles above ground. So he had a guy who builds communication systems for airplanes build his communication system to his team on the ground. And then there's like backup to that. And then there's stuff that they can control, obviously. But then there's cameras, which trip me out, that work the whole time.
Listen,
like,
man.
Cameras on there.
I'm not impressed. You know what I'd be impressed with? Next time, I wanted to put one of them flying squirrel suits on and then like go in the city and then like zip around the buildings and shit. That's what I want to see.
On some Transformers type shit, isn't that? Bro, you ever seen that? And I go, the first time, so those guys, do they have parachutes? They do have parachutes, right? When you're doing the flying squirrel suit
They
thing?
have to. Well, they have to.
Okay.
Unless they're landing on something soft.
How do you fucking trust that? Like you go, I'm about to jump off this cliff or this building or this whatever. I'm
You
going
ever
to
see the
spread my arms.
GoPros on them guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And they're going stupid fast and they're literally flying.
And they're like just missing cliffs.
Yes.
Yeah. That's no thanks.
You know how, dude, yeah.
I like the skydiving thing. Let me tell you, I also did I think I told you about this, but I did the zip lining in Puerto Rico.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to, I think it's called like El Toro. But anyway, it's ridiculous. If you've ever done zip lining, you probably haven't done it like this. Like this place is
We got zip lining.
it's intense.
It's like a mile long, right? Like a zip line?
There's one that you kind of go down like Superman style, and it's a mile. But the actual regular course, it's pretty intense. I mean, as far as what I've done zip lining like in Mexico, that was weak. This one was insane. So yeah, David Blaine, step your game up. I want the squirrel suit on next time. I want you to zip around the flying squirrel suit.
I want you to just miss that mountain. and then while doing card tricks.
No, man, much respect to that guy. You know, I actually was really close to him one time, man. A couple of years back, actually probably 4 or 5 years back. I was at the NRF, which is the National Retail Federation. It's a show they do up in New York, I think at the Javits Center on the west side. And I remember this, it was sort of walking through the trade show, and then this crowd was forming around somebody. It was kind of a buzz. And so when I saw that it was him, I'm thinking, I'm going to get close to this guy. He was doing card tricks to just random people, right? I'm like, oh, I'm getting there. And so I made my way through slowly, and I got about maybe about 3 feet away from him, but there was still people in front of me. So I never got him to do it, but he's got like this crazy energy, man. You know how some people that you can they're just different.
Yeah.
And then obviously there was something to the fact that obviously the guy's a very famous musician, so he had the crowd around him. But being that close to him and seeing him interact almost like first person with a person like right next to me, that guy, man, there's something that he has an aura.
Yeah, he's charismatic as hell. And then one of the things I gathered from his interview with him is that he puts a lot of thought into like what you were just saying, the feeling. He like the trick is the trick, right? But he goes, there's the environment and things I hadn't considered, which make a ton of sense. Like he was talking about even when he does magic tricks when he first started at a restaurant, and if it was like a high-end restaurant, and he says there's even a distance that you have to stand away from people. If I stand too close, I'm too imposing, people are turned off. If I stand too far away, they can't get into the trick. Like all these things that there's a science to it essentially.
Okay.
That he's mastered because he goes there's just as much attention. He's like, the trick's the trick, you can practice that 1,000,000 times, you can get it, but if you can't present it in a way that people are going to kind of be drawn to it, then it doesn't matter. So he's really big, I think, on the presentation of stuff and being a showman, essentially. Like, I have to sell you on the trick.
Well, could you imagine? So in this setting that I just described, right, in a trade show on the floor, it's packed around him. And it just goes to show like the genius that he has and how really good he is at his craft. There's eyeballs on him from 360 degrees,
and he's still
pulling it off, and not only the person that he's doing the trick to, but everybody around him is going, oh, like what, like how did he do that?
I didn't even see you do. And he mentions that he when he first got into magic, he said I think he was a big like Houdini fan, and but he talks about how he wanted to bring something different. And I don't know if he was the first guy to do this, but the street magician thing, but he doesn't like the whole be on stage and doing the show thing. Like, because of like exactly what you just said, he goes, I want to be in front of you and I don't want to be surrounded by people, because it adds an element to the like the shock factor of the, like, I'm not pulling a fast one on you.
Right.
Like, listen, you guys are all watching me.
I'm putting a
doing
fast one on all of you.
on all of you, right? Yeah. And he goes, and I'm gonna make you think really hard about how I pulled this off. And he goes, and the idea is that when you watch me, it makes you feel like it's actually magic because there's so many people around me that you can't figure it out, and no one can figure it out. So it's like, okay, how the fuck did he just pull that? And he does, man. And he did some of his tricks on Rogan. Like he did the stupid, I don't even call it a trick, it's a stunt where he swallows the frog.
Oh,
And he talks about how and why and how he gets away with that.
You would do that.
I threw up in my mouth no less than 5 times listening because you can hear him swallowing. He's like, and then you can hear him trying to bring it back up.
Have you not seen the video?
And he goes, I found him. No, I watched the video
okay,
of the thing, but he's like, I found him. And he's like, and I'm like, oh, bro, it was so disgusting to me, man. I was like, oh. And he just swallows the damn frog. Like there's no trick to it. He's like, and he says, yeah, I got salmonella the first few times I
Of course you did.
I'm like, he said it like it was nothing. And Rogan goes, what'd you do? He goes, I don't know. I just stopped getting salmonella.
Oh, shit. Well,
Good, my body got used to it. I know your body got used to salmonella, bro.
dude, speaking of doing dumb shit, have you seen the latest craze on TikTok? So do you remember the whole cinnamon like challenge where you would take like a spoon of cinnamon and put it in your mouth, see if you can swallow it without drinking anything? I
remember the Tide Pods, the laundry detergent pods. You remember that?
No.
Wait, what? So I do remember this cinnamon thing, but I also remember, okay, think about your dishwasher, the little pods that you could put. So Tide makes some of those for laundry. Yeah. Kids are swallowing those. Like there was a whole challenge of that. Yeah, this sounds stupid.
Okay. So so on the Tide Pod, like what's the goal?
You swallow a Tide Pod.
I know, but like for what? Like to
swallow a Tide Pod, yeah.
To burp bubbles or like what?
To burp lavender fresh.
Is that for like a cure for halitosis?
Yeah, it could be. Shit, can't be worse.
You can wash your insides.
It killed some people. And that's why if you notice now, there's a label on the Tide Pods that says like do not swallow or whatever.
Of course there is.
Which I used to wonder all the time. Like it would trip me out whenever I saw signs that said to not do the most obvious shit.
Yeah.
And as I got older, I realized that like most of the world is not that smart. So you go.
No, I think it's just Americans, bro. we sue for everything. It's like the McDonald's thing. Remember when the lady sued because her coffee was hot? And it was like they gave it to you in a hot cup.
Yeah, and the cup says hot coffee. And it's coffee in its very nature.
It's supposed to be hot.
Did you order iced coffee? Because then that would make a lot of sense. Dude, you're right. Because I remember people in Europe go like, I went to places, I think it was like a restaurant, and it was a balcony with no railings. And it was like people.
Yeah, you told me about that.
Yeah, and people are just like nilly-willy, like kids, the whole 9. And I remember looking at the guy I was with, I'm going like, man, he's like, somebody falls, like that's a huge liability. And he goes, ain't no one here suing over that. He goes, he's like, common sense tells you don't go to the fucking edge. And he goes, and if you do, you're gonna fall. And I go, so you can't sue about that here? Like the restaurant isn't responsible? He goes, no, common sense tells you there's no rail there and it's very high. I'm like, all right, man. And he goes, only you guys. It's true. It's a cultural thing.
Yeah, it really is, bro. So the latest craze is taking Benadryl. So taking like massive amounts of Benadryl, but for the purpose to hallucinate.
Wait, Benadryl makes you hallucinate?
I guess
I'm not getting the right Benadryl, bro, because I take a lot of that shit.
You're not taking that much.
How much do you have to take to hallucinate?
I don't know. I never. I'm not really that interested.
Do these kids know there's shrooms and acid and DMT and all kinds of stuff?
That's what I was thinking. I was like, man, if you want to hallucinate, there's other things that you can do that probably will make you go crazy but won't kill you. Because Benadryl, like doctors say that shit, like enough of it can cause seizures and cardiac arrest.
Of the Benadryl?
If you take enough Benadryl.
So it's a challenge. So kids are just chugging a bottle of Benadryl or the chewables or whatever.
Yep.
And then you try to see stuff.
You try to see stuff.
You about to see the light. I saw a firefly.
Normally I wouldn't even bring that up, but I was like, wow, man, like somebody thought that shit was a good idea.
We're doing a bang up job with our kids.
Like the cinnamon challenge, I thought was stupid.
Yeah, it's
because I thought,
cinnamon,
like,
though.
right, but it's cinnamon, right?
It's not deadly.
Right. And if you got some people around you, you're probably not gonna die.
No, it's funny.
But this,
This is like on the same level as, you remember when people used to do the dust off? Like now you need you have to be 18 or older to buy the dust off shit. You know the dust off, like the aerosol can to like spray your keyboard or whatever. Yep. You can't buy that as like under 18 anymore.
Why?
Because they do whippets. Yeah, you inhale it and you would get high, and it's like, guys, like, yeah, you. What happened to the friendly neighborhood dope dealer that would just help everybody? Like, why are we resorting?
That's for old people.
Jesus Christ, man! Like these kids have turned any. No, you remember when people were choking themselves?
No,
I think that was the hallucination. So like you would choke yourself to the point of passing out, and then you get lightheaded, or you have someone choke you.
I was gonna say, can you do that to yourself?
Yeah, I think so. Like you can choke yourself to the point where you start to get lightheaded, and then you get or you get someone to do it for you. Actually, this now that I'm thinking about this happened to an NFL dude. Did you see this?
Will you choke me?
Listen, I mean, if you into that, I don't judge. You see, I think this dude plays for Washington, but this guy in the NFL, bro, he's being charged with strangulation on this chick, and his like the quote on the indictment thing is fucking hilarious because he goes, "I don't know, man, we were having sex and she asked me to choke. It's not my fault she passed out."
Hey, man. Some people are into that.
But yeah, yo, these kids. Oh my God.
I ain't mad at you.
Listen, kids. There's reach out to your friendly neighborhood drug dealer. All right, it's hard. It's hard out there, man. The economy's struggling. They need the cash. Like, just stick to weed, acid, shrooms. You know, your normal drug. Stay away from the shit with needles.
or anything, or ODing on anything over the counter.
Yeah, ODing on anything, because then you ruin it for the rest of us old folks who need Benadryl, so I don't sneeze on my cats on my lap.
For real, and I gotta sign like 10 pieces of paper so I can buy like a little bottle of Benadryl.
It's hard enough to buy Sudafed these days, thanks to Breaking Bad. I don't need to be able to. Yeah, I don't need release forms for Benadryl now. Right? I want to be in and out of Walgreens, kids. Stop messing around.
Yo, NFL, man, this week your boys made a move.
Yeah,
Your boys, the Titans.
Listen, man, the Titans signed Jadeveon, which I'm cautiously optimistic because it's a 1-year deal. So Jadeveon is inconsistent. So I don't want to go all in and say like, oh, this changes our team, but it is a 1-year deal, and so he's playing for a contract from either the Titans or whoever. So man, if he is and like 80% of what he normally is.
They have a good defense.
That defense is already great, and they did let go of some players, mostly in the secondary, which won't make or break them. I think you're fine. You can replace those guys with rookies, but there's one guy there maybe from a leadership perspective you'll miss out on. But that defense, man, should be stout, and the offense is not bad, man. Like, I think most people don't watch Titans games. I obviously do. What they watch in the playoffs is not the team that played in the regular season. So obviously Derrick Henry carried the bulk of the load. Yeah, no, but
no, I know.
The weird part is that they passed a lot more in the regular season. A lot more. Yeah, Derrick Henry didn't carry that team.
Hey,
like that.
Before that year, you would have taken Dak over Tannehill.
Nah.
Yes, you would.
I would never take Dak over. Lying. Listen, man, it depends. How much is Dak going to cost me? Dak's going to cost me $20 million a year. I'm in. Dak wants 40. I'll pay Dak 40 to go away. Listen,
you know
and
what?
I thought about this because I know some people been giving me shit, and I know when your boys giving me crap.
They have, but hold on. Don't get into Dak yet, because we're going to touch on something else, and then we're going to flow into Dak.
Go ahead.
All right, but we're gonna stay on QBs because my Bears decided that Trubisky is the move, and they have named him the starter for the season, which I'm going. I don't know if that. I mean, I guess I'm trying to think. I was going back and forth. Like, is that the right move? Because they basically signed Nick Foles for decent money.
Oh, they did give him decent money.
Yeah. Honestly, he's getting like. And don't quote me on this, folks, but he's like that, in that 20 mil range.
Oh, so they just picked up the contract that Jacksonville had then.
Oh, yeah. They didn't. Jacksonville did take a hit. They didn't take the entire. The Bears didn't take like the entire hit.
Okay.
There was some.
So I guess Trubisky's still in his rookie deal. So I guess you're willing to take the risk the first year or two, or I'm guessing this is Trubisky's last year, right?
This is his last one.
So it doesn't hurt for 1 year. Okay.
And so you go, well, right, and then. But I'm also going like, I mean, Nick Foles is like 30, so you don't lose too much on time. 'Cause I was thinking like, he's not that young, in football years,
30.
right? but then I was like, QBs last into their 40s these years.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
if you Brady, you 43, 44.
Yeah.
In the NFL, man.
so I was like, I don't know, man. It remains to be seen. And then I was thinking about Nick Foles, and I'm going like, the Super Bowl winning quarterback, he's probably the better choice. But then I go, he just got beat out by Gardner Minshew. So
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Well, he
Like,
got hurt, and then they just left.
still,
Yeah.
bro. If you get hurt, they clearly didn't see enough in him to keep him.
Yeah, I think Nick is a system guy though. Like he
Exactly.
worked perfect
Exactly.
for Doug Peterson's system.
Yep.
He's a good system,
And we've
guy.
known
Yeah.
guys like that.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, in Chicago, who's the QB that came like he was like a high school football coach, and they brought him back. So he was in the NFL. He left. He was like a high school.
He actually just got signed again too, right?
Yep.
Yep.
I want to say McCown, but
Yes,
is that
Josh
right?
McCown.
Josh
Yep. He's like 4,700 years old, and he got a practice squad deal for 12 G's a month.
Yeah, good for him.
Yo, listen, NFL teams, if y'all want a practice squad QB, I am available for half that price. She's $12K to be, and he doesn't go to practice. He's just an emergency QB for
That's amazing.
$12K. Good for Josh McCown, man.
Good for him.
Jeez.
And so for him, when the Bears had him, I think it was Mike Martz was the offensive coordinator, and it was a system. He came in and he was awesome.
Yeah.
and he's not a prolific quarterback by any means, but he ran the system, and I think they're the same thing about
He
Nick
almost
Foles.
won a playoff game for the Eagles last year.
Yeah.
Coming from high school, first game in, almost wins a playoff game through that system. It wasn't a high scoring game by any means, but he was able to stay within the system and give him a chance to win. Because at that point, it's don't lose it for us.
Right.
Give us a chance to win. And that's what he did, man. That's interesting, man, because I think Nick Foles is like a system dude. That Super Bowl, and good for him, it elevated him to the point where people were paying him. It reminds me a lot of the guys that used to play on the Patriots who would ball out when Brady was out, and then they would get these fat deals, and you knew they weren't worth that, but like good for them. They managed. Someone was a sucker.
Porn star Jimmy.
Listen, Jimmy did it. Who was the guy before
Castle.
Jimmy? Yeah, Matt Castle did it. And Jimmy, I will say, I think Jimmy's better one of that bunch. He's good.
I agree.
He wasn't worth whatever the contract they gave him. At least not yet. Not to say they can't get there because Jimmy's young, but he definitely got it on the heels of there was the hype between that. And I will say, I think there was rumors that Belichick wanted to move to Jimmy and let Brady go a year or two before, and had to give up Jimmy almost as a to make Brady feel good and play another year there. So Belichick thought he was good enough. But again, Belichick's a system dude with Josh McCown. They run this system, and you stay within that system, guys are successful, man.
Yep, exactly. So this week I also shed a tear because I was kind of hoping, you know what, Mitch does really bad, goes away, and maybe the Bears can correct their mistake and get Deshaun Watson. But Houston locked him down for an additional 4 years at a $156 million extension.
Good for him.
Right? Good for him, man. And did you see his press conference?
No.
Like, he cried.
Yeah.
And it was really touching, man. Not because he was crying, but he was basically emotional because he goes, yo, like, they believed in me.
Wow.
And that guy, if even coming from Clemson to where, and again, we don't, I only know what I see on TV and what you read. But teammates, coaches, everyone said this guy's a great leader, great talent, great athlete, right? Obviously he gets passed over in that draft by the Bears.
Did they take Trubisky over Deshaun?
Bro, Trubisky went like third.
But that was the same draft?
Yeah. It was, so they passed, it's the three of them. It's him, it's Kansas City quarterback.
Patrick
Mahomes. Wow. Dude,
so they picked Trubisky over both of those guys.
Don't get me started, bro.
So
now,
is that GM still there?
I think so. I think Ryan Pace, I think is that guy. Dude, it's crazy, man.
I mean, I guess to be fair, Deshaun had hype. To be fair, Patrick didn't have hype.
I was going to say that. I probably wouldn't have taken Patrick Mahomes.
No. But Deshaun Watson was coming off 2 national titles.
Yeah, dude. And Oh man, I don't even want to get
Yeah.
into it. So I
And-
really was hoping they would have.
And his
taken
coach
him.
Dabo said like, "Oh, he's MJ," and obviously Dabo's gonna talk him up, but
Still,
still, yeah,
You
he was
go-
a gamer, man. He was.
if you're Dabo, are you maybe like exploding it a little bit? Are you over exaggerating a little bit with the MJ thing?
For sure.
For sure. But you also know, hey, I got clout, and if I want people to believe me in the future, I'm not gonna say that about junk.
Correct, because you have to be able to sell your players to
Exactly.
NFL team, because you have to be able to sell to recruits that you can get them into the NFL in a good situation. So yeah, it goes. So yeah, to your point, Dabo can't. He can embellish, but he can't bullshit like that whole scenario.
Yeah, dude. So this deal, bro, he's getting like $39 million and annually, like averaging out $39 million a year. 27 million in signing bonuses, 110 million guaranteed. So this is like generational money.
Yeah,
Right,
And he's good. That's probably why he's
generational wealth for
crying.
him.
He went from a homeless kid to this. That's because have you ever heard the story? You know, Warwick Dunn. You remember Warwick Dunn running
Yes.
back for the Tampa Bay? Warwick Dunn has this organization that basically like does things like build houses and stuff for like
Yep, I remember that.
single moms.
Yep.
Remember that? Deshaun Watson's mom was one of those people.
Did not know that.
Yeah,
Wow.
Deshaun Watson. There's a picture. It was great. I think I saw it on like draft day or something that they go Warwick Dunn. There's a picture they put up of Deshaun Watson as a teen and like all his siblings and his mom in front of the house that Warwick Dunn gave him. And Deshaun Watson goes, that changed the trajectory of my life. I don't know where I would have gone
Wow.
because I had a place to stay.
Talk about the dude.
You talk
Carbon
about
footprint?
carbon footprint. Warwick
Dude.
Dunn, man, and he doesn't get talked about enough. I think he still
Yep.
does this organization. Warwick Dunn had like a crazy, like a weird upbringing. I want to say like parents had died or murdered or something. To quote me on that, but has took his platform and then did this. He basically built. I think he was raised by a single mom and basically made it his mission to take care of other single moms.
Wow.
And Deshaun Watson, which is funny, man. You see it play out 10 years later. Deshaun Watson was one of the recipients of this, or his family, and Deshaun Watson's like, I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for that. Like
That's
it
amazing.
gave him a house, it gave him somewhere to live, it gave him somewhere to go home to. He didn't have to turn to streets, he didn't have to turn to all this stuff. He could play football, like he could afford to because I had a place to live, like that was free essentially. Like it. When I saw that, I remember
Where's
thinking
he
like, that's
from?
crazy. I don't.
Is he from like the Carolinas?
I think in the
thought?
Carolinas,
Right?
yeah. This is why he wound up going to Clemson too. Is that he's from somewhere in the Carolinas, I think. And I will say, man, I much as I hate to say, because he's in the Titans division and he balls out every time he plays the Titans, man, he's worth that money because he does. Now I'd be curious to see. He has no Hopkins now. And I think, I don't know why that coach has made some really questionable moves with players
Yeah, I
the
agree.
last few months. And unfortunately, I think Deshaun Watson gets beat up and doesn't have the career that he deserves while he's in Houston. But he himself is worth that money. I think that organization is garbage, and I could see where they're going to get rid of that coach in the next year or two and all that because they've made some questionable. Hopkins is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL that doesn't get talked about. Like that guy is always open. And it's so frustrating. And maybe because I watched him twice a year, but he's one of those guys where you go, if you
How
don't,
is he still open?
Yeah, and I've seen teams double him, and he's open. Like it's just insane. And so like I'd be curious to see how Deshaun does when he doesn't have like a security blanket like that. But he's so athletic, man, and so that he keeps. There was a play last year where he's like falling to the ground and he does like a 360 in midair, like a weird Michael Jackson breakdance, and still gets the ball off and scores like a TD. Like he's so talented, just so gifted. Like it's insane, man. And I think he's worth that. Not Dak.
So
You think Dak wants more than that?
So here you go.
So 39 and a half, right? Is what he got.
Wasn't Dak looking for that 40 range?
Yes.
So you go. I think the fact that I think this plays into the Cowboys' favor.
Yes.
Where they go,
of course.
you're not him.
You haven't won that division
Right.
2-3 years in a row
You're
as a rookie.
You're not Watson, so you're not getting Watson. So I think his best opportunity to get money was right after Patrick Mahomes
Yes.
signed that
Correct.
huge deal.
And you can write that.
But I think now that Deshaun Watson, who is a better tier quarterback than Dak, I think that hurts him.
I think you're absolutely right. I think this hurts him, and I think I hope not, but I think Deshaun ends up having a Andrew Luck type thing where he plays out maybe some of this contract, and if they can't protect him, he's not going to have a long career. But I think this hurts Dak big time because you're not worth the 39.5. Dude, I was thinking about this. So think about the division that Dak is in, right? He plays the Giants twice, he plays the Eagles twice, and he plays the Redskins, who have been dysfunctional for as long as I can remember.
Right, so you figure your Eagles are the one that you have to worry about.
Correct.
The
and they're inconsistent.
Yeah.
And they're inconsistent, right? So he's played and he's played the Giants with an aged out Eli Manning and then a rookie quarterback last year, right? So he goes 8-8 or 9-7 in a division with the Giants, who are rebuilding, the Redskins, who are dysfunctional, and the Eagles, who are inconsistent, and Wentz is always hurt. And you go 8-8, 9-7. Patrick Mahomes, on the other hand, goes in a division where he's got to play Phillip Rivers, right? And then he's got to play, who else is in that division? He's got
Derek Carr.
He's got Derek Carr, who's a decent quarterback, right? He's not the cream of the crop, whatever, but he's still a decent quarterback. And who else is in the AFC West? It's another good team, man. I can't right now.
Why can't I think of this? Is it no?
Is it? I'm trying to think of what. So it's Chargers.
I'm thinking about
Kansas
Tecmo
City,
Bowl.
Raiders. Yeah, it doesn't even matter. But Patrick Mahomes is going like 12-4, 13-3.
Denver.
Oh, Denver. Yeah, he's going 12-4, 13-3 against like Denver's trash, but in a good division in an AFC that's tougher than the NFC, I would argue. It's the same beef I have with Russell, man, I'm not. And this doesn't. Russell Wilson's a better quarterback than Dak, but Russell Wilson was with Arizona.
Russell Wilson is great.
Listen. I'm not disputing that he's not good, but he's in a division with Arizona, who has been trash, right? San Francisco, who has been trash up until last year, right? And then you got the Rams, who were trash until 2 years ago. And again, Russell Wilson goes 8-8 or 9-7 when he doesn't have an elite defense.
Yeah, but
he barely makes the playoffs.
But look at his weapons.
Yeah, but
again, think about it, bro. When he had a running back, they go to Super Bowl.
That's true. But if you're gonna ask me for $40 million a year, like Dak had weapons, right? Brady,
Agreed.
You couldn't name a single wide receiver that Brady's played with other than Randy Moss and Amendola and maybe Wes Welker, but those guys aren't like Hall of Fame talents. You named those guys because Brady played with them, right? Like Wes Welker went to Denver and disappeared. And then Amendola leaves that team and no one hears about him ever again.
Yeah, I don't think any of those guys thrive in
Brady's
another system.
never had. Now, Peyton had in Indy, had Harrison and had Reggie Wayne. He had 2 Hall of Fame.
Right.
I would say Peyton underachieved considering he had those 2 guys. He got 1 Super Bowl out of that. He probably should have gotten 2 or 3 because those guys.
He also did run into the Patriots every year.
Correct. And that's probably the big thing. And that's probably why you would say that Brady's the GOAT, because Brady took like nothing to those Super Bowls, because I can't name a single receiver on those Super Bowl winning teams other than who's the guy, Amendola? Is it that's on there now?
I don't know.
Edelman. I'm sorry,
Edelman.
The
guy that's left.
not Amendola. Edelman. And again, Edelman leaves that team, and you never hear from him again. Like he's not
unless he goes to the Bucks.
Dude, that team is building like. You ever play like a video game like Madden, and then you create your own team? You stack that's every time I look.
That's the Bucks this year.
Yeah, bro, every time I look up, I'm like, oh Jesus Christ, here we go. Like, and when they said, and listen, Fournette has been played like garbage, but you put him in a situation now where people can't stack the box because you can't. You have to worry about receivers, and now you have to worry about, do I double a tight end? Do I double Mike Evans? Do I double their other receivers? Amazing,
dude. I'm just waiting for somebody like to unlock the NFL greats.
Seriously,
and then they could put them on that team too.
Like Walter Payton's gonna be like in the back. His backup is like Dan Marino. Like that team is getting. Yeah, it's nasty, man. They're either going to be Cleveland from last year, or they're going to go like 14-2 and just destroy it. Because that division too is, so they have Carolina, who I got to see Bridgewater lead his own team. Matt Ryan, I'm not too worried about. He's a good quarterback, but he's inconsistent. Then you got the Saints. Yeah, but then you got the Saints, who is the wild card. If the Saints are the Saints from last year, then that division is going to be fun to watch. If the Saints are like,
we'll see on game one.
Game one, right? They got, man, that's how great is that,
I know.
Man.
Whoever set that up knew what they were doing.
I'm curious to see, though, there's some games that are going to be without fans. Some people are letting fans in, some people are not. The energy in the NFL is going to be harder to pull off because the stadium's so big. Like the NBA has done a good job where I forget now that there's no fans in NBA games. I don't even care. Yeah, I don't even care. The games are so good. And the playoffs have been so good, and the way they've designed it, and the LED walls and all that stuff, like it's been so good. It's so well done. Whoever did the LED stuff there, it's done a good job. Like you feel like it's a full arena, and just the product has been great. So, but the NFL can't do that. I'd be curious to see how.
Yeah, we'll see how they either pipe in sound or I don't know.
Hey, listen, man, the Patriots been doing that forever, piping in sound. So is Peyton done that?
Zing.
Listen, who you? All right, you know how Peyton used to have the whole Omaha call, like who calls out COVID, Corona, COVID-19 on 3.
And what does it mean?
Right.
Everybody run off the field. bring on the kicking unit.
It's a Hail Mary pass. It's called COVID. Corona 19 is a run up the middle. That's gonna be crazy, man.
Yo, speaking of fanless sports, which is pretty much everything right now, man. But did you see?
Except MLS. MLS has fans.
Yeah, but how?
I mean,
They got they're doing the same thing, right? Where they have the limited.
yes. But they're still fans. Yeah, go ahead.
No, but they had the U.S. Open is going on right now, which I don't watch tennis.
Yeah.
Right, but I do, like in any sport, man. I like to watch the greats.
Yes.
And so like Serena Williams plays, like I watch. I just do, man, because she's amazing, right? She's amazing to watch. Djokovic is one of those guys. And so he had a match against a guy who, and I don't even know, it doesn't even matter because he was going to beat the guy anyway.
Yeah, it didn't matter.
He makes sort of like a bonehead move to where he takes out his ball. And again, I'm not a tennis guru, but I don't know if there was probably a reason why he was taking this ball out and getting rid of it. So he takes the ball out and he just, it's between plays. He hits it and it goes and and it hits the line judge in their throat.
Bro, and he hits the one line judge who looks like the
She's about 80 years old.
Yeah, but she looks like Miss Trumbull from Matilda. Like, she's like mean. She looks like a Karen. I'm gonna go ahead and say it.
Yeah.
And he hits the one line judge where you go, God damn it! If I had to hit someone like today with a ball, that'd be the lady who's gonna. And it turned out well for him.
So I was like, I got this thought and I go, what's her job?
She's a line judge.
Which
so
is
she's
to see when the balls go out. So you're supposed to be watching the balls.
Yeah, bro. Her reflexes clearly weren't that.
No, let me ask you. So I guess in between plays,
he didn't hit it that hard. I'm gonna say that.
Bro.
He literally just tapped it because he was hitting it to the ball boys, who are normally the ones who grab it, like in their back there.
I guess.
Yeah.
Right. But so I go, you're a line judge. Like your job is to watch the balls. And yes, okay, so you're in between plays.
She was looking at lines.
What are you looking at? There's nobody in the freaking stadium. Like there's nobody around but your colleagues. You weren't talking. What are you looking at anyway?
She's distracted.
You're supposed to watch the guy. And so he basically gets disqualified from the US Open.
Yeah, for hitting her.
And they said it was for intentionally hitting the ball recklessly.
Which is stupid.
But you know what's funny is that I wonder because I don't know if it was like last week, but sometime during this U.S. Open, there was another person who hit the ball recklessly. It went into the stands where there's no people, but it did hit a camera guy, and that person didn't get disqualified, but the camera guy wasn't hurt by it or anything. This thing just happened to hit this chick right in the throat. And of course, it caused her. I'm assuming getting hit with that ball right in the right spot doesn't feel good.
I'm sure.
And I feel, and I feel bad for her. Like, right, like that's. But
I don't.
Again, man. Like,
you ever seen baseball umpires get whacked with balls even with the face mask on, and they take it like a champ on the chin, and they back at it calling bad balls and strikes.
At least
the next
they were.
play.
I guess it's okay for them. So like because they're looking at the ball, but it's like I'm trying to compare it to like other sports. You go, okay, so
this is like LeBron tossing the ball at the ref and it hits him in the face. And you know what happens to LeBron? He gets teed up. That's it. He doesn't get tossed from the game. He doesn't cost them a point or whatever you want to do. But you get tossed from the tournament for this.
In a football game, when you throw the ball away, what if you hit a security guard in the back of the head, the guy that's watching the fans?
Yeah.
Like, do you get thrown out of the... Like, I don't understand.
It's a delayed game.
What is
now
this?
We had to bring this unconscious guy off the...
Like, I didn't get this, and I go, I wonder if this is one of those one of these really old rules that shouldn't be there anymore,
This
but are
only
still
happen.
there?
This would only happen in these foo-foo sports like
That's what I'm
tennis
saying, right.
and golf. This is the only two
Yep.
sports this would happen in. It's tennis and golf because they think they're bigger than the game, like or that these organizations think that no one is bigger than the game. And I'm sorry, now Djokovic is out. No one big is left in this tournament from the male side.
I don't even
because
know.
Federer. I don't think Federer played. Neither
He's
did Nadal. I think they both sat out. So
Oh, so then that's it.
no one's watching.
Yeah, it's a wrap.
So yeah, good for you for
Good
now.
for you. Congratulations, U.S. Open or whoever the hell runs that organization.
On a year where most people are indoors and probably would have been watching more if you would have had a Djokovic, and now you didn't like.
Dude, and then he's chasing Federer to be like all time.
And this was
Bro,
one
like
of them.
this is, and it's like, wow, man. I was just baffled by that, and I go, it's accidental. Sure, if you want to say the rule says you can't intentionally hit the ball, essentially.
Give the other guy the set. Like even
Yes.
if like a penalty is like, oh, you
Something.
can point out like something, but you're gonna disqualify him from the tournament because of that. It's such a stupid.
And then he loses the money, so that was the fourth round, and so he's earned $250K up to that point. He loses it. Like you're essentially,
so he forfeits
it's
the money.
It's like you never showed up.
Which is so stupid, dude. If I'm him, dude, I would refuse to play in that U.S. Open in future years. I just want.
I wonder, is it? And this piece that I don't know. Is there like a tennis sort of like a ruling body of tennis that rules all of them, or is it like
it's a tennis
the U.S.
association.
Open, or these guys have something else? And
No, it is a tennis body.
It is, okay.
Yeah. It's a league. It's a. I can't remember. It's like UST, whatever. But anyway, dude, it's so stupid. It's so stupid.
Congrats on.
It's like you remember when
they're gonna need that $250K because they lost all those viewers.
Yep. You remember when you know who Ricky Fowler is, golfer?
Yes.
So Ricky Fowler, young dude, wears his hats with the flat bill. And he was big. He's like sponsored by Puma. So, and again, if I'm the PGA and I see Ricky Fowler and you're trying to sell this sport that's dying to younger kids, Ricky Fowler is exactly who I want up there on a podium, exactly who I want on a poster, exactly who I want in commercials, because he looks like every other 20-year-old kid, 16-year-old kid, right? He's got the flat hat, he's got cool shoes, he's got cool shirts, he's wearing the cool colors, and then sometimes he'll put his hat on backwards or whatever, like you go, but that's his personality. That's who he is. He's not disrespectful. And I remember there was like a time where the Masters and stuff like wouldn't let him in to like the press conference room or because he wore his hat back. It's disrespectful.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's disrespectful, dude. You guys not letting women and black people play up until like 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Like it's so fucking hypocritical, man. Like they wouldn't let him wear a hat like with a flat bill or backwards and then you go, yeah, good luck,
But if he
man.
bends it,
It's
good
fine.
to go.
It's fine. And I looked as someone who plays golf, like I play golf, I have hats that are flat billed and I have hats that are curved, and I definitely get weirder looks if I wear a flat hat.
You should never go golfing again with a bent bill.
It's my mission now. And you know what's great? It's my flat one too. It's an Arnold Palmer hat, so they have to respect Arnold.
No, you should wear a MAGA hat.
Now they probably let me in. Dude, did you see they're doing a MAGA parade by boat in Florida? They did like this. Like
I heard some boats sank in that thing.
Like boats. Can you be any more out of touch with like if you're an average voter, right? Like, and you go, we're gonna have a like basically a pep rally, but on the water. If you're trying to appeal to middle America, you think a boat parade is gonna do? I mean, obviously, it's not planned by the campaign. It's the people who are in support of that.
I am so convinced that his supporters are his supporters, and they are ride or die. At this point, I mean, he had something to come out this week where they were saying that he said something derogatory about the.
You got to be more specific.
Yeah. He basically called. Well, this is allegedly he called. The soldiers that died at Belleau Woods, which is a big battle, World War I, where like the U.S. Marines like pushed back like German forces, right? Big part of like Marine Corps history, and supposedly he was in that area. They're gonna go visit like a cemetery, and he was like, "Why am I want to go over there? Like, I don't want to see those losers that they all died, right? Like almost like losers die, right?"
I kind of believe that.
And
I mean, I know it's alleged right now, but I've heard him say enough of so like you remember what he made about McCain? Remember the comment he made about McCain?
What did he said? Losers get caught. Something like
he goes like, "I like my soldiers who don't get captured,"
Right,
and you're
right,
just
right.
like, "Wow, man!" Like,
and you know what? And I'm just so
like that's a fellow partyman, right?
Yeah, at the time. But I think that he was sort of. I think McCain didn't agree
support
that
him.
he should be
for
the guy,
sure.
right?
But for you to make that, listen, man? This is why I know nothing makes smart people or just people stupider than politics, and religion is a close second. But if anybody says that, right? Like if that would have come from, like, obviously the blue side is just as outraged about that, right? Because he made that comment. But had that come from Biden, the red side would be outraged, right? But because it came from their, whatever, their leader, like it isn't like we switch our perspective depending on who said it.
Well, I mean, I also think that when he came out and he goes, I didn't say that. If you're a supporter of his and you want to believe that,
yeah,
you're going to believe it. I don't even like, for me personally, man, I don't care. Like he can say whatever he wants.
Yeah,
like, it doesn't really matter to me. It doesn't.
I always just take the stance of like when people are like, oh, he talks just like me, or about any politician. I'm not even gonna use it, but like any politician, he talks just like me. I go, yeah, that's how I would talk to my friends. Guess what? I don't want any of my friends to run this country. Like I know you don't want me to be president of the U.S., right? I probably don't want you to be president of the United States. Like I go, yeah, there's a reason. Like I don't. There's just a certain level I think that you should of. I don't even know what to call it.
Be a little bit presidential.
The way you should carry yourself. Yeah, it's presidential is the only thing I can. Yeah, it's just interesting, man. Yeah, we'll see. It's
it wouldn't. You know what? If it was true, it wouldn't surprise me. And but I know that the far left right now is grabbing at anything.
Oh yeah.
So like if it's a rumor, it's gonna be news. So like right now, I think I'm having a really hard time like deciphering like what's truth. And what's and what's propaganda.
I can't wait for election season to be over, man. I'm just nauseated by the whole thing at this point in time, dude. Like you said, it's always like left and right are always just at each other's throats. There's something that feels just so much worse about. I think it's because it's brought out the worst in people that you knew or you thought you knew. That I'm just like, I'm over this. Like I'm like,
and on both sides.
Yes. No. Yeah, absolutely. On both sides.
On both sides. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. Anyway, dude, how we doing on time?
Listen, man, we're over an hour. We're an hour and 11. We sit here and just start rambling.
All right, well,
we go in.
Let me touch on this real quick, man. It was actually last night. So last night we go to bed, and being that today is Labor Day, happy Labor Day to everybody. The kids stayed up late and they're online gaming with their cousins and friends and what have you. So my wife gets up after I fall asleep to go and check on something and happens to go by their room. And so I have teenage boys, like 13 and 11. And she hears them saying cuss words, right? So they're talking trash to their to their cousins and whatever, right? And now granted, right, these are middle schoolers now. And for those of you parents who have kids in middle school and beyond, you know that when they get into middle school, it's a whole new world. And so I thought my boys have done a really good job just because I kind of think back to when I was in those grades, that like 6th, 7th, 8th grade. Yeah. And the kind of things that I was saying, the kind of things that my friends were saying, the kind of things that we were hearing. And I grew up in a different time, different place. But still, like those kind of things, I know that they're still happening, and they're happening here where I live now. And so, I know that it goes on, and I always talk to my kids, and I'm like, listen, don't do that in the house. I know that you guys probably do that outside. I've never heard it from you. I'm glad I haven't. Keep it that way. Well, I guess they thought, mom and dad were tucked away, for the evening. And so luckily my wife doesn't wake me up. But the following morning,
so you were asleep.
I was sleeping. Yeah, I was sleeping. So the following morning, she tells me the story, and she is appalled. Right?
Did she not think that middle schoolers would?
And we've talked about this, and I told her like, yo, I'm sure it happens. And a matter of fact, to my kid's face, I told him like, I know you guys do it. I haven't heard it, but I know you do it. Do not do that in the house. Like, at least have enough respect for the house and for me and your mother. Yeah. Right? Don't do it in the house. And always understand where you are, understand who you're around, understand your surroundings, and make good judgment calls, right? Because you can sit back and throw a few back like we do on here with a friend and talk a certain way, and then when you're in, let's say, a work environment, right? You gotta know when to turn things on and off. And so, I think school is a good place to do that, where you get around your friends, whether it's in school or after school, and you have these, you kind of talk to your buddies and you guys talk a certain way. And then when you get around their parents or around other adults, and then you sort of have the respect, you change your language, you change your mannerisms, because in life, unfortunately, you have to do that.
Yeah.
And so I've never experienced it, but so my wife comes and she's like, so I go by their rooms and I hear the little one say, yo, bitch.
The little one.
And so when she tells me this, I'm going,
yo, bitch. Listen, as someone who occasionally plays online, if that's the only thing he's saying, you've done a great job.
Thank you, man. I'm going to pat myself on the back. But so as she's telling me this story, she's like, I went into the room and then, I didn't really yell at them or anything, but I said something to them and they could see it in my face. And you can tell that they knew they were sort of caught. And this whole time as she's talking, I'm going, I can't be a hypocrite. I'm like, how do I go and approach this? I got to go and approach this kind of like how I've been doing.
Yeah, because if they go, well, Dad, did you curse when you were 12? And then they're gonna go,
or even now, right? I mean, listen, I don't make it a habit of letting things fly around the house, but they do occasionally, right? It's my damn house, so I talk however I feel.
Dude, I occasionally play video games online, right? And most of the time you get paired up with like probably teenagers, right? So middle schoolers or high schoolers. And so if I'm not in a party, right, quote unquote, so that means I'm playing with people that I know, and usually you can black out the chat from the other teams and you're just talking to people that you know, which for the record, so I'm apprehensive to let my daughter play online video games with the headset on.
It's coming.
Because of people like your kids. So what I do is I let her play with me and like people that I know, because then we can party chat it. And I gotta tell the fellas them, like, right. Hey man, my daughter's on here. Like, let's keep, try not to say dick. All right, F word here and there. You're not gonna do it, but try not to any genitalia. Let's keep that out, right? So. But man, some of these kids, like some kid once told me he was gonna rape me in the nose, and I don't even know what the fuck that means, but that shit sounded mean. Yeah, and you know what's worse is when these kids have that squeaky ass voice that cracks because they're going through puberty.
I'm gonna rape you in the nose.
Fuck you! I got fuck you. So I'm super mature, right? So I just keep telling these kids I'm their dad. And I
gotta get on these games.
Oh, bro, it's so, you know what though? It's not as good as it used to be. Back in the day, everybody had headsets, right? And they would clown you if you didn't have a headset and you were talking shit, right? These days, man, everybody mutes their shit and kills in peace. Like, it's weird. Like, nobody talks as much, right, unless you're with your team. Like before, it used to be and we would say the most vile shit to each other, like on those little party chat or on those room chat things. Oh my God, man. The stuff I've said to kids like yours, or maybe your kids, like who started talking shit, I've scarred a couple of kids for sure. Dude, you know what's hilarious? Earlier today, my daughter's been begging me to watch this movie, Alita. I don't know if you've seen this movie, Alita. No. It's actually pretty dope.
Alita?
Alita.
Okay.
Yeah. So, anyway, we had looked it up. It's PG-13, and then of course it tells you why. It's like, violence, profanity, all this other stuff, right? So I go on these websites and I look at the stuff that's in it that I'm like, oh, okay. I can stomach that, or I can explain this or whatever, right? So we watched the movie. The movie's not bad. Like, I felt like the rating wasn't earned. The PG-13 rating wasn't earned. Like, it's actually there was less than 5 curse words. I want to say maybe 3. And
I think if you throw 1 in there, you got to do the PG-13.
you got to do PG-13.
Yeah.
And then they said something about a sexual reference. I didn't catch it. Maybe that says more about me than, right? So I didn't catch anything. And at the end of the movie, my daughter looks at me and goes, I hear more from you directed towards us daily than I
Dad, you're rated R.
And she's like, why were you so concerned about me watching this? And I was like, listen, I don't know, but that's a fair point.
Well, you know what's funny about my situation, man? So this happens last night. I get the story in the morning, and then, dude, it's like 1 p.m. The boys have not come out of the room.
Oh, because they know it's coming.
And then I finally bust in there, and I'm like, what is going on?
So did she address it
No.
in the evening? With them?
No, she didn't. So she sort of like went into the room. They saw her, so they knew they were sort of caught.
Okay.
And then she left it. So I think in the morning they kind of woke up like, mama's awake.
Like,
Don't go outside.
Oh, that whole thing.
Yeah. So I had to go in there, busting in, like, guys, really? Like, all right, you did something wrong. Like, it's fine. Like, come out of the room. It's okay. You can actually have some food.
You can actually. I don't know if your wife does this, but this is a Latina mom thing. I remember you woke up and you knew they were in a bad mood, and there'd be some Spanish music playing, and they were cleaning the house, and it'd be like loud as hell, like no respect for anyone sleeping, and you just knew. Like, I knew if I heard Mark Anthony or Vicente Fernandez at 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning, it was not about to be a good Saturday.
Sneak out the bedroom window.
Yep, I'm hitting up whoever. Like, can I go to your house? Y'all got pancakes? I haven't eaten yet.
Mom's not feeding us
Mom's
today.
not. Yeah. Mom been scrubbing the same counter for 2.5 hours.
Oh, man. Yo, tell them where they can find us.
Yo, catch us. And it's been dope, man. You guys have been hitting us up. So at the Carbon Footprint on IG, that's probably the best one to get us at. We both are logged on that, and we respond as soon as we can. We've been loving the feedback, so hit us up on there. I'm at Juan on Stage on IG too. At some point, hopefully I get back out and try to make attempts at this comedy thing. And then speaking of games, man, on PlayStation, Xbox, and Twitch at Not the Fake JLo. I'm trying to change that so that it matches across the board, but right now it's that. So yeah, man, hit us up, man. It's been awesome to get you guys to get the feedback from all 11 of you guys, man. We appreciate it.
And then some of y'all hit us up more than once.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Love it, man. We're talking smack. By the way, is it Tito?
Yeah.
Listen, Beastie Boys are the greatest rap group of all time.
You'll for sure get some feedback on that one.
Hit me up, Tito. We appreciate y'all, man. Peace.
Peace.